Hey, Carrie O'Shea Gorgon, you seem like you were on a very familiar set of the Backpack Show.
Am I? Huh. So
Yeah,
weird. Oh my God, you're right. How did I
it's
get
so
here?
weird. I don't. That's,
I was
that's
like, I
what
wish I had
everyone
a
wants
really
to know.
cool background, and then poof, the genie brought me here.
Yeah, I'm in the city of Boston, so I am downtown
Oh,
Boston
nice.
right now. So yeah, we're gonna
Did
do a
you
show
get like
remote.
the lowest room in the hotel? Is that what happened to you?
Oh, you know me. I'm like in the basement. I'm near the ice machine. It's unpleasant. I spent yesterday in 200 Clarendon Street, Boston, which is the John Hancock Building, the tallest building in Boston. It is ridiculous. You can see all over the city.
Is it still the
Hey, I
tallest
thought we had a
one?
guest today, don't we?
We do, but are they counting the antenna on top? Because I hate when they do that. They say it's the
Oh,
tallest building. Look at this antenna.
that's a good question. But I can tell you
Let me
this: you
see.
can look down on the Prudential Building from up there,
Hi, Leslie.
which is
We
kind of
do
weird
have
to
a
think
guest
of.
today.
Who do we
Ooh, that
have?
is weird. That is weird. So Cory Hymel, I hope I'm saying it correctly because
I
we didn't
didn't. I
even
was
ask. We
guessing
talk
Himmel.
about a
He's gonna
gazillion
have to
other
fix it.
things.
Yeah, mistake.
Vice President of Product and Research at Gigster. So check that out, gigster.com. They help startups to Fortune 500 companies unleash human cloud-driven innovation at a global scale. I wanted to talk to him about what blockchain and AI, the role
Yeah.
they're playing kind of in the future of work.
Some of that GPT baloney, people working remotely, what
Baloney.
it's like to work with remote dev teams, 5,000 projects completed. There's a lot to talk.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Carrie Gargone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show.
I love picking one person in the opener to look at, and today it was DJ Cumberbund. I was like, I love him.
To me, it was
I would run
Jesse
away
Cole.
with him.
So
Ooh, we have some sponsors.
Oh, I've heard of sponsors. Oh, phone sending me messages now. Okay, let us do some sponsors. Hey, Dad. That's
Hello,
my biological
Dad.
father, Steve Brogan. Chloe?
Chloe says this is confusing to my brain cells. I don't know which part. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can make a show from anywhere. That's why we use products like StreamYard. So we are
It's like subliminal ads.
sponsored by StreamYard. You can make your own show in Boston or at my place when I'm not at my place. It's kind of weird.
Get your own expert in the future of work. cbrogan.net/StreamYard.
Go find that one. cbrogan.net/StreamYard. Hey, hey, we can stop using this because I haven't been posting the podcast there, and he moved on to another company.
Not.
Perfect. cbrogan.net/online. Get a .online domain. You can for $1 whole. Just put in the name Chris any way you want to type that, and you'll be fine.
No, it's not. It has to be all caps. I don't know why they do that. It's lame.
Because they're
because I try to remember always to do lowercase actually, because if I start doing like different capitalizations and stuff, like it just gets confusing. And then you break things and people get angry. Nobody wants.
Let's grab Cory and
figure out if we said Cory's name correctly.
We screwed it up. Hymel or Hymel? What do we got?
We can go with Hymel. It's actually pronounced email. Louisiana, so French-based name. But I've gone by Hymel for forever because it gets to a point where we get tired of correcting.
You get sick of doing it.
But it's just like, fine, you know what? You guys can say whatever you want as long as you get the Cory part right. We'll
Were you in Louisiana for some duration of your life?
I was not. So all my family's there. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. My father was a pilot at FedEx, which is HQ'd and hubbed out of Memphis. So that's right. Uprooted our little piece of the family there, but mostly a lot of them are back there still.
God, Beale Street.
Okay. Amazing. Gosh, yeah. But go back to Louisiana and everyone says the last name.
Email. They get it right every time, right?
Every time. And they always ask if is it H-Y or H-I? Which I've never seen an H-I-M-E-L. I'd be Hymel.
I get the struggle because I'm an O'Shea, and so I would get O'Shea, O-C.
O'Shea.
I was like, really? Yeah. And the apostrophe screws up all the standardized tests and stuff. I get it.
That it does.
So the reason that I super wanted you on, Cory, was because I read something that was saying, how blockchain and AI technology are helping manage distributed teams. I was like, what the heck? What does blockchain have to do with the price of teams? I was like, what? So I know that's kind of like going right in the deep end, but
no.
Well, let's also give a little background, just because for God's sake, I don't want them to be like, well, first there were the dinosaurs, and then they got too big fat. They turned.
No, this is the topic.
No, I know, but like Carrie and I were involved in blockchain by way of cryptocurrency for a little while in 2021 or whatever that was, and so we're aware of the general sense of blockchain. But that's almost where I wanted to go, because Gigster, at least on your site, you're not exactly advertising really cool crypto coins at this point. You do say NFT and you do say blockchain. You actually separate them, which is nice to see as well.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand the foundation. What kinds of projects are you putting together for people now that they've gotten over the idea that their stable coin is not so stable?
Stable coin, not so stable. No. Yeah. So a little bit of background, I guess, to set the context on how we ended up where we are today. So I have been with Gigster for 8-9 years now. Was out in the Bay Area during 2016, and was in kind of like the engineering runaround groups that were there, and got introduced into blockchain. Thought it was super interesting. Was working at Gigster at the time. Come 2018, we got partnered with Dapper Labs, the people that launched NBA Top Shot, and this was when they were still designing their Flow blockchain. So we helped them do some of that. And then come circa 2021, which I would call the Cambrian explosion of NFTs that happened, I pushed the business. And by that time I had, climbed the corporate ladder to a point where I had some influence as far as what we did as a business, and said, basically made my case that this technology I was super passionate about had legs from a business standpoint. And, a lot of our book of business was really around like business and enterprise work. And so I looked at it and said, all right, what can we do to appeal to these people? And this is like a Cory personal type of opinion. Like, I never got big into the crypto side of the world, but I've always been extremely fascinated with the underlying tech there. So the blockchain itself, and a lot of the business application uses for it. So we started kind of, I don't want to say like peddling around, but we started, like basically making pitches and writing white papers and putting in value props around blockchain beyond kind of crypto, and then pushing those into a lot of our big customers. And that's kind of how we ended up with the two segments between, we do blockchain, meaning we'll do distributed systems. We'll do, basically use it for things like supply chain or healthcare records, we've done like some cool projects into like edge brokering systems and telecoms, right? So like, how do you reconcile roaming minutes between telecoms in Europe across borders? A lot of times it's really interesting. Like within that, it would take days to settle between companies, but now you can basically do it on chain at the edge, which is pretty sweet. And then nice. The NFT side was like one that was, end of 21, like the obvious thing to do. And a lot of brands and marketing departments and marketing budget dollars were like, wow, this is amazing. This
reminds me of what you were saying, Chris, when people were like, blockchain, who the hell cares about that? And you were like, well, it's going to affect your life in all these ways you won't necessarily be able to see or even realize it's happening, but it will be there kind of underpinning everything.
Yep.
Sounds like we're there.
Yeah, that's what you're manifesting and investing in and putting into play all of those things that I've been wanting to talk about for years, which is like, it's like the most boring technology in the world that can do some of the most interesting and important things in the world. Like, for instance, you were talking about supply chain. Can you talk to us even a little bit about what one of those kind of projects is like?
Yeah, of course. So kind of two things on that. Yeah, so supply chain. So the interesting thing about like, and you say it's a boring technology because it really is, right? Like the problem that blockchain solved was tracking ownership within the digital world. And that's it, right? Like, before, so the internet was founded on the idea of copy, share, paste, open information, trade around. That's really like the philosophy that the internet was founded and built upon. And that powered the first web. The second big iteration of it was around Web 2, which was platforms. So like your Facebooks, these social platforms where basically content was created by users and the companies just facilitated the sharing of it, right? Like Facebook doesn't create any content. That's all the users. Facebook is just kind of, the happy medium that's there to shake hands and pass it around. And that was kind of the Web 2. Now the Web 3, where we are now, it's like, in order for this whole thing to really grow, you have to be able to create some level and track some level of value within the web. Now, everyone I'm sure has heard, well, you can't do that because you can just right click and copy it. You can screenshot it. Like, there's no way to know who was the first creator of it, which was totally true. And then, when blockchain came around, it was like, hey, we've got a solution to track ownership and origin, which people call provenance, of where these assets come from. And if you think about it, as soon as you can do that, things start to have value that never did before. Like a meme or an image never had value because you could copy, share, paste. There was infinite number. And then now you can basically say, Chris was the first person to ever create this. He owns it. Now, the market can assign value to that item. And it creates just whole new economies. The NFT use case is one, but there's a bunch of other ones. And so to bring it back to your question, how is it important in supply chain? Well, provenance and ownership in supply chain is historically really hard to do. I mean, you're talking about, within any given consumer product that you might have sitting on your shelf or on your desk right now, or the computer screen that you're looking at, it's comprised of a lot of different components from different vendors. Different people have, held it in the manufacturing and then packaging and then shipping and delivery process. And that whole kind of handoff gets really muddy and really expensive and really time consuming to document. But blockchain is this kind of like shared way for them to streamline that. So it's a super cool, super interesting. But to your point, I think a lot of people, the actual underlying tech is kind of boring. If you think about it, it's like, so you're just kind of keeping a ledger, think of the back of the old checkbooks.
Is that why you dress up your background so much? You're like, hey, I'm going to talk about some boring stuff, but Baby Yoda, Darth Vader over there.
Yeah, Darth Vader
it's like
over there.
Austin Powers is going to come back and want his room any second now.
Yeah, Darth Vader's was a reboot edition. He's new. Call him Kevin.
Kevin. You were like, I need this today.
Yeah, he's like a gentle, nice one because he doesn't have a lightsaber. Poor guy.
Chloe says that yours was the best and simplest explanation she's heard. So Chloe from Scotland.
Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate that.
And
yeah.
Did you see your mom said hi?
I said hi back.
Yeah. But what's good about it and simple about it is that, it's going to happen. It's going to get very soon. And this is what we're seeing the big trend in businesses is that, before like powered by blockchain was this like huge selling tagline, but blockchain is going to descend into the background, just like cloud computing did, just like, AI did. Like most people don't know, like a lot of the stuff that you interface with uses AI, but no one really talked about AI until ChatGPT. But like your recommendations on Netflix are all, there's machine learning algorithms doing that, like how your phone is able to, optimize signal, has ML algorithms, you're searching, your social things like email, like all of this has AI in the background, but it's not like, it just makes your life easier, I think is the
autocorrect, speech to text, all kinds of things like that people are just like, I'm afraid of AI. And you're like, you're soaking in it, Madge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that raises a question of like, I went over your site and everything like that. And, I can't not trip over ChatGPT. It's almost like your SEO person said, I've got an idea and wrote the word ChatGPT about every 4 words on your site. So would you agree that this has been quite a boon in so many ways that like, at least the world has finally heard the word and kind of gets what that one is, at least so that you can then help them vector into the other much more useful business cases for ML and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great. So I will say this is that I don't think that there's any way to understate the impact that generative AI, which is ChatGPT, is going to have on a lot of facets of our life. And especially where I do most of my research in is the impact on work and distributed work. So yes, we've got it everywhere, but we are very, very bullish on how this is going to affect everyone and everything. I think it's one of those, it's one of those things that's come along, and it's kind of like NFTs were to blockchain. It's kind of one of these like, oh my goodness, there's something like we need to be reinvesting here. But yeah, I mean, to your point, we have, the phone has started to ring off the hook from customers being like, hey, I remember when you were telling me about AI like a few months ago, like maybe come back and talk to us again. Which is funny. It's the same thing that happened with blockchain when I was pitching them back in late 2019, 2020. NFTs happened. Like, hey, Cory, would you mind coming back and maybe sending me that proposal again?
But you still use the old phone gesture. We need a new one now. I don't know what it will be, but
this just doesn't feel right, like
hello.
Yeah,
throw a big brick. Yeah, look like you're slapping yourself in the face. Stop talking about AI.
Stop. I need to just have my glasses on. I just like double tap them, and then it. Can do some After Effects to a little VR.
Oh my gosh!
Shows up.
It's off the
so
rails.
what are leaders now interested in? Like there's what they think they're interested in, and then there's what they need. So what do they need now? Like, what do they actually need this for?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So specifically, right, if we want to hone in on the AI side, like there's huge use cases for businesses that's very boring, but extremely impactful, right? One of the main ones that we see a lot of companies use, AI, machine learning for, is like workflow automation. So being able to help streamline, kind of business shuffling our documents or things internally, right? Again, not super sexy, not like this, not I don't know. I don't want to say like an Elon Musk style, like you get up there and you talk about the vision with Steve Jobs. It's like, no, we're like automating.
It happens to be incredibly important to what we
do. Happens to be,
like Chris and I work for a company that does that.
Right. Can increase. I mean, like a really interesting, use case around one of them is that like, Google increased the energy efficiencies of their data centers by like 40% by using an AI trained program to like map out how to deal with like the cooling, right? It's like not sexy, but I mean, 40% of, billions of dollars worth of server and hardware equipment, like financially kind of now it's kind of interesting, but that's one of the big areas that we see a lot of now, obviously too, with the current market conditions, a lot of, leaders are calling saying, what do we do with ChatGPT? What do we do with generative AI? How do we make this work? So you've got to kind of go in and tamper expectations, I think, is the big thing that I've learned from working in emerging tech for a number of years now. Leaders will see something and they jump on it and it's like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. And you're like, look, yes, it's very cool, but I'll bring you back down to earth a little bit and show you how much, one, this can really do, and then two, the price tags that come with it.
Well, between workflow automation, which frees up people who have more skill than it takes to answer basic requests, like you get kind of the basic stuff automated, they can handle the higher level stuff. I feel like the same is true for when you have ChatGPT and other kind of starter kits, basically for stuff that frees people up to move on to the higher ground, the more nuanced questions that require real expertise, and maybe take it a step further than we are now. There's so much bilge out there, like crummy content. I'm kind of hoping this will get us past that. It won't just be like, oh crap, we need some content, let's get bilge out there, now you can do better. But maybe I'm just naive. what are you seeing?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's a question that we get a lot, and like a huge fear. It's like, oh my gosh, AI is going to take our jobs, like the classic, South Park voice, right? The idea is not for AI. I mean, AI is not going to come in and replace humans. It's just simply like what it can do is like peanuts, compared to what people can do. What it is meant to do, though, is it's supposed to remove the arduous, repetitive, like things that you can do without thinking type of work, so that you as a human can actually be applied to, I would call it like human worthy task, right? Creative thinking, like, creative problem solving that requires like multiple areas of expertise or thought. And when I say that, it's not like problem solving with some like giant crazy thing, but like, if you need, like, if a problem requires you to like look at multiple different images that have different contexts and then try to apply that into some business solution. Like there's no AI that's going to like really do that well. Like, so have a person do it. But if part of that is like trying to like classify what those images are, like super basic, there's no reason anyone should be wasting their time on that. And that's the big, area that I think a lot of people don't understand, and especially business leaders don't understand, because whenever they go to do this, especially publicly traded companies, there is a bit of, pushback from either shareholders, stockholders, market, or customers saying, we want to keep our jobs. How's this going to impact us? And it is that continual reinforcement of like, look, this is not here to take away any jobs. It's meant to like free your time up to do more important things that, again, I call like human worthy activities.
Janice says it would be nice to have more creative time at work. I mean, I had an example of this recently where I needed a photo for something really basic, like a spotlight article. And I got a link to a Google Drive that had hundreds of images in it. And I was like, how can I tell which of these has this person in it? Is there like facial recognition or anything like like that you have on your phone? Oh, no,
Sure.
we don't have that. So I just thought, this is begging for an AI solution. Like, find me pictures of this person.
Of course.
For sure. I was thinking, especially to your point, you don't want to tamper with the stuff that's a little higher up the value chain. But there are a lot of times, like your data center, what is so funny, I think this all the time, especially in B2B kind of environments. It is the most boring feeling, basic-ish questions are the ones where there's the most revenue and there's the most opportunity. Like, I think that like IoT stuff, like little sensors plus AI, it just does a lot of things that we used to have like a facilities guy, roaming around doing for us. And now that this sensor system can do that, and, it'll like Nest. I mean, let's use Nest as an example. Before that, you had 4 or so people in a house going, it's a little hot in here. No, it's something else. There's a system. So I think that there's so many other applications. Do you get a lot of opportunity, especially in the pitching phase? Do you get a lot of opportunity to kind of like tamper with people's intent? Can you like guide them towards more fun applications of the products, or is it they just want to solve their problem and you have to match that to what they're going for?
Yeah, so we do, right? And like I don't say it enough, but like my job is pretty awesome, which I'm extremely blessed and fortunate to be able to say. But a lot of times when we're going in and talking to these companies, they're kind of turning to us, and like usually the question that I'll get asked is from a C-suite or executive level. Hey, Cory, we know we need to be doing something with, and like recently a lot of with generative AI. Like, what are cool? Like, what are cool things that we should be doing, right? And that. And then it's kind of our job to sit back and be like, all right, let's dream up some like cool things. What would you do if you were Boeing, right? Like, and then depending on who's asking, if it's, the CMO side, marketing side, if it's the manufacturing, development side, it's like, well, we might use it for, using generative AI and the CAD designs to help better come up with parts that are lighter weight and use less material, but stronger. On the marketing side, can we create some insane customer experience that allows them to personalize their onboard flight experience based on their previous experiences with the brand? So we get to think through a lot of that. So there is a lot of guiding with intent, but it is, it's obviously always comes down to the the budget holder and then ultimately procurement before the are truly signed off on. That's a good question though. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, we've already hit this part of the show, so I'm going to push this button.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
There's a couple of options here, but I'm going to go to Chloe because, there we go.
Because Chloe's
best. I like that input.
Chloe?
Because Chloe made your website.
Yeah.
So be nice to Chloe.
Chloe Forbes Kinlan
and
project.
She sent me cake for my birthday. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a Chloe fan.
Yeah.
I know, me too. Cake. All you have to do is have a birthday and know Chloe.
That sounds like a good gig. All right. So we've come to the show where we ask the same question to every guest. We could probably have a robot do this for us, but the question is what goes in your backpack? It is something either physical or metaphorical. Carrie, what's an example of, I don't know, something physical you could throw in a backpack?
extra set of teeth, DJ Cumberbund. You just
That's
never
a pretty
know.
good one. What is something metaphorical you might be able to throw in a backpack?
Ooh, kindness. Ariel Helvetica, the burlesque performer, said kindness. And at the time, I laughed in her face, but not because of what she said. It was unrelated. So I use it as an example now as like penance.
So Cory Hymel, what would you add to the backpack?
So the first physical one that I would add is I used to travel a lot for work, like three weeks out of the month. Something I always carried with me everywhere and always was earplugs. I'm a light sleeper, and the worst is getting to, like you said, to a hotel room where you're next to the ice maker, or you're on a plane, or you're trying to nap in an Uber, and it's loud. I never would leave home without earplugs.
I don't like it.
Yeah, kind of, again, a boring one, but very practical and very valuable when you can't sleep and it's loud. You're like, shit, I wish I had some earplugs.
Yeah.
You know it.
I have 48
if you find a
pairs of
spot
them.
where you're trying, if you find that where you're working is noisy, you could go to somebody else's place and take it over, which
You
as
can
long
always
as they're
just
not
take someone's
there,
place.
goes
That's how
really
it
well.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Chloe says it was super cool hearing about your work, Cory. Thank you for making it really easy to understand.
Yeah, thank you, Chloe.
Yeah, no, I have 48 earplugs with me right now because when I was in Tel Aviv,
Because you have 23 friends with you.
there you go. We're all here with our earplugs on. It's awkward. It's an earplug party in my hotel room.
Yeah.
No, I was in Tel Aviv and there was quite a party going on outside the window up until about 2 a.m. every night. It was like it's a very evening city,
Sure.
Tel Aviv. So I'll tell you the one thing that I learned through the experience though is that, you know, if you're ever kind of feeling just a little lonely, there's a funny sentence that they say in Israel, and it's a little awkward. It doesn't translate perfectly to English, but it's